I'm in the spirit. Good morning and welcome to the morning update on TV XYZ. This morning, I want to tell you to be self-confident regardless of what you're going through or even who you think you are, because if you do not believe in yourself, no one else will do that for you. Once again, welcome to the morning update, where we will be talking about some of the headlines that are making stories or news around you. So this morning we'll review newspapers. We would also discuss some of the headlines, and wisdom during the show would come with details of some of the headlines that we would discuss. Now, I did mention on Monday that there was an outbreak of Ebola in Guinea. So 3 persons have died out of that, and out of the 7 people who have contacted the virus, 3 have died and 4 are severely ill. But the Ghana Health Service is not just sitting by and waiting for the matters to get worse before they tackle. So it says here that Ghana Health Service directs all health facilities to initiate response plans for Ebola. So for one way or another, we know that Ghana Health Service is doing something about it. So they are not just sitting and waiting for it to get here before we do something. In the midst of Corona, this is happening. But again, we pray that, God will keep us just as he has kept us so far. I'm not doing this alone, as always. I have with me Eric. Good morning.
Abna, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm also fine. Very, very fine.
I can see.
You can see from what? My stomach.
You sound it.
Well, I'm sure they will hide it for me. At least it's going down.
It is. It's
going down. I want it to go down.
Why?
I have to burn fat.
Why? I feel like there is an underlying story to that.
Yes, because it will make you healthy. So I've been taking a lot of water these days.
Natural mineral water.
I came across this and I think it's very inspirational. It says, your life is your message to the world. Make it inspiring. Every day may not be a good day, but there is a good in every day. Someday you will become filled with so much happiness that it heals every part of you. Very, very, very inspiring. I just came across it. Your life is your message to the world. Mm-hmm. Whatever you do will follow you. Some say that the evil person is always running away from his shadow. Mm-hmm. But those who have free mind always go about their duties without being afraid of anything. That is how I also want to welcome you to Morning Update. Don't forget, Morning Update is also available on social media, Facebook, YouTube. All you have to do is to subscribe. Wizard TV is with us, and I've also told you that anytime you want to organize any major event, just contact us. With Wizard TV, we can together package and use our platform to share whatever you are doing to the world, especially corporate bodies. This program is live and started just some few minutes ago, and you listened to some gospel music, and I believe that you've been reflecting on some of these lyrics, because even if you are down, as I said in my introductory comment, you would lift up and then face the world. This morning, a lot of things are happening. She talked about Ebola, and we have already been struggling with COVID. We are told Ebola even is worse in terms of the fatality rate than COVID. And Guinea is within the sub-region, some not too far away from Ghana. Mm-hmm. It's good that Ghana Health Service has issued a statement. In the course of this program, we shall share excerpts of those statements with you, and all of us must be on the lookout. So it's like double barrel.
Yes.
We have Ebola on one leg, and then we have Corona. COVID on the other. We'll be taking a short break. When we come back, we'll introduce to you what has been reported in the newspapers. back. This is morning update on TVXYZ and Wizard TV. I have the daily graphic, and the front page comes with a big a headline. It says roads dualization is in the offing, Minister Designate assures. Yesterday he appeared before the appointments committee and several issues came up, from road tolls to projects that are supposed to be executed, and the minister said that because of COVID, many of such projects have been affected. And I was particularly interested in Harun Idrisu's question to the minister designate about the dualization of our roads: Accra, Kumasi, Accra, Aflao, Accra, Cape Coast. If you know the traffic that builds up around Buduburam, and then for those of us who go to Kumasi very often, the traffic that builds around Nkoko stretch, very, very, very stressful. And then on the Aflao stretch, you can see that there's a lot of development springing up between Temamoto Runabout and Ada, which means that a lot of people are going to move towards that enclave, and obviously to be affected. Even Accra whole road also needs a lot of attention. And the minister did not answer the question. When he said, if there is the will, then that means there's a good intention, and so those things will be done. That, to me, was not the response to the question. But how did the daily graphic report it? On your front page, you say it: roads dualization in the offing, Minister Designate assures. And then you can't reopen Supreme Court, you can't reopen case, Supreme Court tells Mahama. And time to tax Momo proceeds, Esla Owusu Ekufu. I want to read the paragraphs that capture some of the things I spoke about in the daily graphic, and this on page 3 with reference to the Minister for Roads and Highways' response to the questions put to him at the appointment committee. There was one on inadequate funding, and this was his response. He says that in spite of the fact that road construction was capital intensive, the sector had not attracted adequate funding to bolster road construction across the country. He indicated that the road construction sector was capital intensive, and so less budgetary allocation has slowed down efforts to improve road across the country. When we talk about 1 billion for road construction, it may sound big money, but in terms of execution, it may not go far for that expensive project. It comes at a time when he has already told Parliament that the year of roads project is on course. Then he also talks about payment of contractors, and then he refers to some 10 billion cedis paid to road contractors since the NPP assumed power in 2017. And there's a particular paragraph here which says the fund was mortgaged as far as November 2016 for a loan from UBA Bank at an interest rate of 32%. The fund has not been available to government, and we have to refinance that loan because the amount that was taken was 1.3 billion cedis. And then he talks about the capacity of local road contractors, and he thinks that if they work as individual contractors, they may not have the capacity in terms of resources to advance in terms of the execution of roads. And if you pay road tolls, be ready, because the minister has made a categorical statement that if he is confirmed, he will increase road tolls. He also made reference to the fact that this was attempted some years back, and there was some resistance from private road users and commercial drivers. But this time, the approach may be different, but road tolls has to go up for some funds to accrue into the road fund. The back page of the daily graphic: Obuasi Rotary Club assists 20 communities, and children believe supports flood. Children believe supports flood victims in Saboba district. So look at the back page of the daily graphic newspaper. Abna, what do you have?
I have here the Ghanaian Times. Now on the front page, Ghanaian Times is also capturing the Supreme Court's ruling. It says here that Supreme Court dismisses motion, and also it says that pastor remanded over police enlistment scam. Now, apparently, he posed as a police officer and took money from a student, claiming that he's going to help with the school enlistment. Again, it says here that 853,009 math sets calculators to be distributed to 2021 WASI candidates. Now, we've heard that 3 police officers have committed suicide Now, the Ghanaian Times is explaining that marital pressures and COVID-19 apparently are complications or causes of the police suicide. On the back page is sports. And just like my colleague, I'm not very good with it, but I think this is easier to read. It says satellites in flying start. And also it says go shy, only beat sharks. I think I did better.
Right, you did better than me. The Business and Financial Times, the front page, transparency issues stain world-class COVID-19 test regime at KIA. Aviation expert, over $15 million rigged in so far by the operator. Prioritize remaining $750 million US dollars debt and get us cheaper gas, IPPs, to government, and selecting nuclear energy vendor is top of my agenda. That's what the Minister Designate for Energy, Matthew Opoku Prempeh, is telling Parliament. The back page says Bank of Ghana to make universal QR code mandatory. And then we also have something on sports at the back page. So that's what the Business and Financial Times newspaper is reporting. I don't see other exciting stories in the middle pages. Abena, you can do the Chronicle now. Okay, so on the front page of the Chronicle, it says here that Baumia's braininess forced Afarijan into the witness box, not a subpoena. This is coming from Honorable Kojo Opon Nkrumah. Yesterday, after the ruling, he did say a lot of things. There was even a, should I say, conspiracy theory. Did you hear that, Eric? So NDCA apparently took the issue to court because Mahama doesn't want to be contested for the next elections. Yeah, so apart from trying to explain the arguments in court by the two major political parties through their legal representatives, all of them are adding their political twist to whatever is happening. One of them is suggesting that it looks like the Supreme Court may have its own agenda. That came through one of the commentaries by the lawyers. I think is uncalled for. Then another person is also saying that, look, grammar is not what the court listens to. Grammar may be part of the law and the conversations in court in terms of the argument, but that is not so. And so it was a light jab I saw from Kojo Opon Nkrumah to Chachuchi Kata, because he's now become the toast of the day, and many people think that even his body language in court is so exciting to watch. Yes. But that is his twist. He also says that the NDC has no case, and all what they are doing are just cosmetics, just to make the people who are members of the NDC think that we have won the election when they know clearly they have lost. So those political twists will come, and for me, it's normal. Oh, I see. Now, again, it talks about Jane Mensah escapes Chachu's legal trap as the law fails to convince law lords in subpoena battle. NLA threatens to revoke Alpha Lotto's license if the rest of the story is in the Aussie increment in road tolls when approved. This is coming from Amwako Atta. The Dispatch is the last paper I have with me. The front page says Supreme Court throws out Mahama's request, but he files two new applications. One is for stay of execution, and then the other one is also for a review of the ruling yesterday. And it comes with the pictures of Mr. Chachuchi Kata, Mr. Justin Amenuvo, Mr. Akoto Ampao, and the Chief Justice Enini Yabua. So let me share with you how the Daily Dispatch captures this. The back page has something related to Esla Owusu Ekufo. It says a lot happened on January 7, 2021, and none of us can be proud of them. And this is with reference to what she did. She sat on the laps of one of... yes. And she said she used some physical means to restrain him from doing things he anticipated would happen. Oh, Lord, this woman. So that's what we have for you by way of headlines in the newspapers. Wisdom Hede Joma will join us at 7 for the news. But before that, let's take this break.
Every human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. water. Simply natural.
Still the morning update on TV XYZ. My name is Nana Abuna. So on this program is proudly brought to you by X Natural Mineral Water, simply natural, and of course Health Alert Clinic. Let's go herbal. We have spoken a lot this morning. We have talked about the Supreme Court ruling and many others, including the mathematical set issue, and Wisdom is here to give us details. Good morning, Yansa.
Good morning, Nana. How are you today?
See, I remembered.
You know, I was scared. The Ebola issue.
Yes.
Yeah, you're talking about
yes.
it. It's very scary.
It is. In
the midst of COVID, and we have Ebola right its ugly head. It looks very scary out there. But I have lots of stories for you. I'll be telling you about the Supreme Court ruling yesterday. Now, you've been talking about it. The Supreme Court is a place of law, not big grammar. Kojo Ponkruma has been talking. I'll tell you about that. And then also Chachuchikata has filed for fresh application for the review of yesterday's ruling, and then the review on the 11th of February. That ruling is also an issue that will be delving into. Social media, as you are aware, it's been awashed with lots of reaction. Yes. And others are saying, we are talking about Dr. Dominic Ayene. Others says, you know, if you followed Twitter yesterday, I don't know whether you followed.
I did. I saw Twitter was interesting. Yes.
Yeah, yesterday it was fun on Twitter. And then the coup plotters, if you remember that story, ACP Algozon and Dr. Yao Makpam and all the others. The High Court hearing the case has, further delayed the case in the fear of that the suspects may contract coronavirus while they are being transported from the prisons to the court. So all of these and other stories, I have details for you. The vetting committee is on.
Take us away, please.
Many thanks for your company this morning. We start the stories, and the Ghana Health Service says it has received information of 7 cases with 3 fatalities of the Ebola virus. Now, the service has subsequently informed all regional directors, chief executive of teaching hospitals, and all stakeholders to take critical observation of suspected cases. Now, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaji, in a letter to health administrators, asked all regional directors and other health facilities to quickly prepare to respond for plans for the Ebola virus. We head to the Supreme Court, where yesterday's ruling, many say, was anticipated, but respondents insist the Supreme Court is simply applying the law. Now, the court, in its unanimous ruling yesterday, said the petitioner, John Dramani Mahama, has not certified it with enough evidence. Now, Chief Justice Kwesi Enin-Yeboah, in his ruling, explained that the counsel for the petitioner has provided enough on how the evidence he intends to adduce will affect the case.
Courtroom was packed and public interest was high. An earlier request by Chachuchikata to quote additional authorities that will back claims that the chairperson is an individual and therefore can be subpoenaed was denied. Chief Justice Kwesi Enin-Yeboah, who read the ruling, said the petitioner has not indicated how the evidence he intends to solicit from the EC chairperson will help to determine the case. He concluded by explaining the EC chairperson is not on trial and cannot be asked to vindicate herself. Chachuchikata has since filed 2 applications, one for a review of the ruling by the court on February 11, dismissing the application to compel the EC chair to be in the witness box for cross-examination, and the second for a stay of proceedings pending the hearing of the review application. Hearing continues later today. The court has stated that it will move the motions for the 2 applications filed by the petitioners after a date has been given by the registrar. It is, however, not clear if the court will go ahead to receive closing statements or rule on the fresh applications.
Now, the NDC has described as very worrying what appears to be an attempt by the Supreme Court to prevent Jean Mensah from entering the witness box at all caused a visibly frustrated former Deputy Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayene questioned why the panel has reduced the petition to personal issues.
Guinea, who addressed the media shortly after yesterday's court's ruling, said they reject the ruling, insisting reason adduced breaches the 1992 constitution.
In our view, the court was wrong. In our view, the reasons of the court were based upon wrong legal premises. But the Supreme Court is the final decision maker when it comes to the law. And we have no reason not. We are bound by what it has said, this morning. We cannot depart, from it. But lead counsel for the petitioner has indicated that he is filing an application for review with respect to the earlier decision rendered on the 11th of February relating to their decision with respect to the compellability of the witness testimony of the Electoral Commission.
The petitioner's lawyers, in response to a question about why the NDC has not provided the court with figures to convince the court, said one significant aspect of the returning officer's role in the dispute is the Form 13, which EC knows very well will expose them. He said if ordinary people can always predict the outcome of anticipated rulings, then there is a problem.
Came out very clearly that the Form 13 that she said was a Form 13 wasn't a Form 13. Okay? And as I promised you yesterday that there will be very, salacious evidence coming out with respect to Form 13. And I told you that Form 13 is the reason why they are running away. Ordinary citizens, lay people, can predict court rulings. All right? I leave the justice or fairness of otherwise of the rulings to your judgment.
Meanwhile, the MPP is happy and says law is not grammar, and says it has become obvious the NDC has no case. Information Minister Designate Kojo Oppong Nkrumah jabbed the NDC legal team for asking the public to reject what he described as an empty propaganda to incite the Supreme Court against the public.
MPP, in its response to the NDC legal team, was blunt. Their case has fallen flat, as Kojo Oppong Nkrumah puts it.
Just because interrogatories are allowed, it should grant you those when the questions hidden in that box are irrelevant. I heard His Lordship the Chief Justice said that this your application falls flat on the grounds of relevancy.
He took a swipe at the former Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayene, for what he described as scandalous, the claim that the court may have a predetermined agenda. The Information Minister Designate, who defended the unanimous decision, said that the court's decision to throw out almost all applications must give clear indications the NDC has no case and it's about time they chicken out.
And we keep making the point that it is not fair to the judicial system, it's not fair to our democracy, it's not fair to the people of Ghana that when you lose an application because it is not grounded in law or because you have failed to meet the legal standards, then you come here and literally poison the minds of the public and make claims that they may be having a predetermined agenda. That's scandalous of the courts. It's scandalous of the courts. When you make a legal argument and it is upheld, that one is good. When you make an argument and it doesn't meet the threshold, then it means that.
Now, critics are asking the NDC to pull out of their case. Social media has been awash with reactions, many of whom seem to have formed their own opinions. There is more in this following desk report.
Among the first to react after the unanimous Supreme Court decision denying the NDC the opportunity to cross-examine Jim Mensah was US-based constitutional lawyer Professor Kweku Asare. In a brief Facebook post, he wrote, and I quote, "Another unanimous dismissal of the petitioner's application to subpoena the election manager. This goes with the unanimous rejection of the petitioner's request for production, interrogatories, and request for admissions from the election manager. The petitioner is within its right to file further processes, but if you cannot get discovery and you cannot examine the election manager, what exactly do you expect to get from the court? If they would have given you more, they would have started by giving you a full plate. #Saul is a cardinal sin of the 8th Parliament. But this is Ghana. Their fate is in the hand of the system. Daye. Other Facebook comments read, can the dance of a fowl ever be pleasing to the hawk? #election petition. Another noted, you want the petitioner to show you fresh evidence before you grant an application for subpoena? This cannot be law. Other posts on social media read, this election petition is only good for academic exercise and not intended to overturn the results. Rest in peace, Ghana's democracy. Now, dear, even if you file for application for withdrawal of our case, they will dismiss it. NDC Abre. Others said, Ghana's EC is a black box. It churns out varying results at will without any duty to explain how it happens.
Now, away from the Supreme Court related issues, and commercial drivers are demanding a reduction in fuel prices. According to them, the negative impact of COVID-19 is equally biting them. Some of them who spoke to TVX was a news justified a 10% increase. They explained that the volume of business has dropped drastically, and that is because of the potential fear of infections among commuters.
Government will help for the fuel price to come down as it was when at the time we have not voted. The price were low, the price was down, but after the voting they are increasing the price. I don't know how to say it, because I don't want to use certain words that I will offend someone, but the way they are increasing the price is not good at all.
So about two prices in him. No, what passengers in so. For baby, for baby, so passengers for also how does I go passengers for no? So because Nipa means a better back so I'm a woman. And they say I had a 3-5 near Chebaco so mama. And you could be to about 5 cities, so the Memphis. So until while he will free her about 5 cities. Now, how many backroom?
If it's not right to increase, but then it's not right to increase the fuel too. Because the fuel drains our income. If you are buying, excuse me, today 4.5 for 1 gallon, now you go to the fuel pump, it's 3.93 for the 20 cities. It means it is reduced. So you have to add money to get extra, what we call fuel, before you can run for the whole day.
Let's now turn attention to Parliament, where the vetting of Finance Minister designate Ken Ofori-Atta is likely to take place next month, following official request by the second Ofori-Atta for some more time for him to recuperate. Now, the nominee, whose vetting was originally slated for yesterday, is on medical treatment for post-COVID-19 complications in faraway United States. In a letter dated Sunday, February 14, and copied to the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, Alban Kingsford Sumana Bagbin, the Chief of Staff at the Office of the President, Madame Akosia Frema Osei Opare, the Clerk of Parliament, and the Chief Director at the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Ofori-Atta requested for a new date for his appearance before the committee. Critics suspect his trip to the US was to skip the original scheduled date for his vetting, but that has been rubbish. Now speculations were arrived on social media that he had passed, but his special aide has since debunked that and assuring the public he's alive and in good spirit. Minister Designate Kwesiamu Akwata says government has decided to freeze the award of fresh contract unless it becomes very urgent. It has also assured the public that the year of roads agenda is on. The nominee, who took a stand at the Meet the Appointment Committee yesterday, however, had tough time defending some of his claims. Now, one of such was the asphalting of roads and other bothered on abandoned projects. Asked whether there will be dualization of major highways, this was his response.
It's on the top agenda of His Excellency the President and government, and is even late, but better late than never. Yes, it's going to be a major challenge, but wherever there is the will, there is always the way. We are currently working on Accra Kumasi dualization, and in the course of this year is going to be intensified.
Apologize for that quality of the sound. Now, Minister Designate for the Interior, Ambrose Derry, also took his turn. One of the controversies he was grilled on was about the dress code of police personnel, especially for wearing of beard. He was responding to a question filed by MP for Ododododo.
What I have not found is that there has been deterioration in discipline to the extent that it has interfered with us achieving our goal of making people feel safe in the country. This is a matter I have to raise with him, but like I said, I have not felt any deterioration. On the contrary, I think that the police service is more active now, better trained. We now have a counter-terrorism base in Honya, where they go for frequent training, and discipline is one of the things that we install there. But
Ambrose Derry is Minister Designate for the Interior. And before we go, the trial of the alleged coup plotters has been suspended following the upsurge of coronavirus. Now, Justice Kwesi Asiedu, an appeals court judge with additional responsibility as a high court judge, said the court has been advised accordingly and fears the suspect could be infected during their transportation from the prison to the court. Now, the commercial division of the Accra High Court, in hearing the case against ACP Benjamin Agoso, Dr. Patrick Yao, Frederick McPam, and 8 others accused of treason. The arrests include Kenel Samuel Kojo Gamali, Donya Kafui, Bright Alan, Deborah Fosu, Johannes Zikpi, Corporal Asiedu Abubakar, Lance Corporal Ali Solomon, Warrant Officer WO2, and Corporal Sylvester Akapiron, who have all pleaded not guilty of the charges. At the last court sitting, a 7-member team of juries were empowered to assist the commercial division of the High Court to conduct the trial. Police couple ACP Agozo and Dr. McPam, the man accused of masterminding the alleged plot, together with 8 others, have been slapped with 6 separate charges, including treason felony. The state hopes to rely on 19 witnesses. And that'll be it for this morning's news in brief on the morning update. My name is Wisdom Hedejime. As always, do log on to my xyzonline.com for more. Nana Abena Sewa.
Thank you, Nyansa Hedejime, for such details. That was a news in brief on the morning update on TV XYZ. Now, I know that a lot of us have been depressed before. Some are even going through depression as we speak. Now, if you do want more details, I just want to take a quick turn. When I come back, we'll delve into depression. sometimes we ignore the voices that we hear in our head. I mean, growing up, you hear some voices, you ignore them. Now, these voices become monsters, and we still ignore. Then after a while, ironically, we go back to these monsters to seek for answers. I just hope that when one is going through depression or one is stressed out, you would talk to someone. I did put something on my status and asked if you would go to therapy if you're stressed or depressed. A lot of people said hard no's. And one even included a doctor. He said, no, I would rather talk to the sea. So I am thinking, if we introduce certain courses in school or even make it mandatory to a certain extent, it will probably help us. Now, speaking of health, I have Health Alert Clinic sponsoring this segment of our social discussion on morning updates. Now, Health Alert Clinic deals with chronic diabetes, hypertension, stroke, numbness, and then waist muscle pains with machine treatment. Also, they treat ulcer, prostate issues, menstrual problems, burning sensation in the foot and body, chronic body pains, waist and bone pains, typhoid, bad cholesterol, gonorrhea, syphilis, dizziness, white, and if you cannot sleep. And also, I stress this all the time, hepatitis B is one dangerous ailment that needs to be checked, and so you can go walk in there and they will do it for you for free. They also do ultrascan, massage and physio with machine treatment, and of course they do laboratory services as well. They are located at Medina Post Office behind the First Atlantic Bank in Accra. Now you can also call them on 0242 518893, or you can call 0242 518865. Let's Go Herbal, coming from Health Alert Clinic, our proud sponsor for this session. Now, moving into my discussion, there is this quote I would like to share with regards to mental health and depression. I say here that it's so difficult to describe depression to someone who's never been there, because it is not sadness. I know sadness. Sadness is to cry and to feel, but it's that cold absence of feeling, that really hollowed out feeling. Now, this comes from J.K. Rowling telling us about depression, and I side with this quote because depression is totally different from being sad. I mean, if you're sad, you cry it out, you sometimes even scream, or I know I scream in my pillow sometimes when I'm depressed. But when I'm sad, how do you move out of depression? Do you talk to someone? Why is it that people don't want to see therapists? I know I have had a case where I lost someone very dear to me and I was reacting badly to it. So I ended up at Ridge Hospital. I was referred to Kolebu to see a therapist. I got there. I was in the lobby and then I left because I didn't want people to think I was going mental. And I know a lot of people have certain instances that they can cite. You can also send in your experience. You can also send through your experience. Now, on experiences, we did go on the streets and talk to people and ask about their opinion on depression and therapy, and this is what they had to say.
Person so moody, you expect the person to socialize, but you realize that always the person is isolated and doesn't want to, interact with people. Yes, that's what I look out for when the person, and normally like you expect the person to be engaging in certain activities like the normal things that the person does, probably where the person works and all that. You realize that this time around when the person comes around, the person is isolated, and then even the work that the person does, you realize that the performance has gone down and things like that. Yeah. Of course, it's important that normally we will say, psychologists, because they will provide the counseling. It's only when it's gotten to a certain stage where medical intervention needs to come in, probably then you need to go to the higher level where a psychiatrist will come in to address the mental issue that the person has. But apart from that, psychologists are there to also assess you to find out whether you have any psychological issues and all that. And
yeah, so you had one person that we spoke to yesterday with regards to depression. On the matter of talking to people, we have on the line Dr. Emmanuel Asampong. He is a clinical psychologist and a senior lecturer at the School of Public Health, University of Ghana, to help us understand this topic properly. Hello, Doctor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please, I hope you're doing well and keeping safe.
I'm good. How about you?
I'm good, thank you.
Great.
So moving into our discussion for the day, which has to do with depression and its related issues, could you kindly educate us on the head and heart connection, that is, if there is any at all, in terms of mental health and heart diseases?
Right. So typically when we say depression, it's basically a mood condition, or if you like, a mood disorder, where people, would have been experiencing certain challenges for a period, where they get to the point they think they can't do anything about whatever is happening. And so they tend to be helpless. They also tend not to have any hope. You would notice that they are unhappy. The feeling that they have about themselves, sometimes their self-concept, as in how they see themselves, becomes defective, and they do not really feel good about themselves. You would realize that these are people who hitherto were, getting involved in social activities and stuff like that. But then all of a sudden, those things that, hitherto brought them some satisfaction, doesn't really gel. They don't really see any good thing in that. You also have instances where they really can't concentrate on what they are doing. In fact, generally, let me put it that, certain actions and inactions of such people would provide a very good enough indication that these are people who are clearly going through depression.
Doctor, the question, I think the second part of the question is that is health issues or health-related issues connected to heart diseases in any way?
Sure. So, any issue that, surfaces, and then the person usually would have certain resources available to deal with those issues. It could be any kind of resource. But then if it gets to the point where those resources that would enable the person handle whatever issue at stake gets depleted, what it means is that the situation the person finds his or herself in becomes overwhelming, and to the point that, they become very emotional about it. And like we know, when people are emotional, then you really do not have any room for, reasoning to work. And that is why such people will feel that, they are worthless, they really cannot make any contribution to society. And a lot of the times they think that, if it is that I am not able to make any contribution, I am worthless, I feel helpless, then the point is, there won't be any point in living. And that's how come sometimes people will make attempts at, as it were, taking off their life. Sometimes certain people make that attempt not to really succeed, but it is just an attempt to draw people's attention to whatever difficulty they may be going through. But unfortunately, many people are also not aware, that, people, when they are exhibiting some of those tendencies, are indications that, they are going through some kind of depression. And so it's like we look at them, and then, when unfortunately, what we don't expect happens, then, people begin to say, well, I saw the person behaving this way, and that's how come very often I say that anytime you see somebody who puts up a behavior that deviates from the usual, tendencies this person exhibits, that in itself could be an indication that the person may be having some challenges.
All right. Now, doctor, if you notice that, how do you persuade such a person to seek help without the person becoming very combative about what you are suggesting?
Right. So I can understand where this question is coming from, because very often people who find themselves in those situations, tend to disregard whatever may be going on. And so it takes a lot of tactfulness it takes a lot of persistence. Sometimes you want to really make them really trust you, because that's the only way that they possibly would even want to follow you to wherever you would want to take them, or to even agree to taking a step to seeing a therapist. But otherwise it can be quite difficult, because for many people they really do not see that there is any problem at all. And that is why sometimes the thinking is that, well, you want this person to go see a medic. The reason being that people tend to be very apprehensive when they have to see, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, because the thinking is that, these are people who, attend to, if you like, mental health challenges. And, people are really apprehensive, when it is about mental health. But the reality is that, look, these are, it's an issue that can affect all of us. In fact, we are all at risk at some of these challenges. And so if it happens like that, you want those people to sometimes see a medic, like I said, and then depending on whatever behaviors that are exhibited, the medic could make a referral, for such a person to see either a psychiatrist or a psychologist.
Right. Now, Doctor, trying to nip this from the bud, or trying to solve this from the grassroots, would you suggest that therapy be made mandatory in the country, or say office and schools?
Well, I think even before that, it's important that we intensify the education that we put out there. The reason being that many people sometimes tend to exhibit certain behaviors that for them it's just fine. And then again, significant others who may be around also do not see, any problem with it. And it's all a matter of, well, let's leave this person. He has just decided to be like this. And so I'm thinking that if we were to intensify education on, general mental health issues, then at any point in time, when anybody, tends to be drifting, then people around can easily identify that, well, this person or fellow may be experiencing some challenges. When we do that, then we can move on to the next level, as in putting in place services. Putting in place some structure that can attend to people, who have some of these challenges. Because the reality is that if people do not know and the services are there, or we put in the structures, then it's just going to be, it will add up to nothing, because people will still not access. And that is why I think that even before these structures are put in place, we need to begin to intensify the education. But like we are doing now, I've oftentimes suggested that if media outlets were giving even 30 minutes every week, to somebody who has the expertise to provide some kind of education, to the larger public, I'm sure it will go a long way to, sensitize people as to what mental health challenges are, what signs to even look out for. If we were doing it that way, then I'm sure we will all be contributing to, as it were, helping issues that border on mental health.
Thank you, Doctor. You've been very insightful this morning. Thank you for talking to us, and we do hope that you have a good day, sir. Right. Now, we're talking to Dr. Emmanuel Asampon. He is a clinical psychologist and a senior lecturer at the School of Public Health, University of Ghana, who has given us a lot of insight about depression and how to curb it. Subsequently, we will be talking to Dr. Kojo Obing. He is a director at Ankafo Hospital. But before we do that, there's been some news circulation out there about a young lady who has vacated her home to stay in a cemetery because she lost her boyfriend and she doesn't really know how to deal with it. Let's take a look.
I first know the Anamisulu by Sia being to me. First, then I'm by the net to say by Namisulu catch and say young coffee. My or say Hayana, I'm so you're better than Namisu. I know Miss Lupan. But catch and say, Mamma means to Namisulu, where he never be seen. To Mamma means to make catch and say, if no more so be Dimichi, or Sylvia, and sorry, and Mamma Genti. Momo Womoko, Omunia Sibio. Transmia Kuduna Mitina. If so, no, you means me can't say, Yanko. Until everyone by a form one. And I feel I seem to be sad. Has a ice. Now catching send Yanko to name homo. No, may I got now. Saying, may a call I've sent an
That's a really sad story. Hopefully, she's able to get better help or better assistance. Now, we do have Dr. Kojo Obeng, the director for Ankafo Hospital, on the line, who will also tell us a bit more about depression and how to curb it. But before we do that, there's another gentleman who also has another issue with depression. Let's take a look.
I level change you. Come see my Range Rover. You know, be Sakawa, oh, he be God, na Jehovah. Very soon we go take over. Those fake MCs, then go hang over. I hustle, my bread, papa. 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 Nesendena se sikaba, my men chele. Guinea star, me body ya, my men fele. Ghana mbeya, my men Facebook iswa, my men chatty. And then I say sikaba, my men chele. Guinea star, me body ya, my men fele. Ghana mbeya, my men say Facebook.
Another guy who has also vacated his house to live in the cemetery with lots of stories or depressed stories out there. Now, we do have Dr. Kojo Obeng, as I said earlier, on the line. He's the director for Ankafo Hospital. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
All right, thank you for talking to us this morning. Now, doctor, how serious is this mental illness becoming?
Mental illness in general or depression specifically?
Depression, mental illness.
Depression is a very, very serious disease that afflicts a lot of people. Statistically, 1 in every 10 men will experience depression in their life, and 1 in every 5 women will experience depression in their lifetime. So it's an extremely common condition. The unfortunate thing is that for a lot of people who suffer from depression, nobody, including themselves, know that there's something wrong with them and that they can get help. So they suffer in silence, as it were. But it's a very, very serious condition, and it can lead to suicide, as we are unfortunately aware of now.
But do you think that people not seeking help has to do with stigmatization, or a lot of it has to do with stigmatization?
It's a complicated picture. Unlike with something like malaria, where you have a fever and it's very clear to everybody around you that you are not well, depressive symptoms tend to be a bit more quiet. So the person themselves might not even realize that they have a problem that is a sickness. They might think it's just a sign of weakness on their own part. For the people who are even able to identify that there's something wrong with them and that it's not weakness, they are not aware that it's an illness for which they can come and seek treatment in a hospital. And then for the people who are even aware that it's a sickness and they can come and seek treatment in the hospital, then they face the stigma of coming to a psychiatric hospital to seek help. Because people would accuse them of being, for want of a better word, mad. And then there's the availability of care too. You know, traditionally you'd have to come to just 3 hospitals all in the south of the country, so mental health care was not accessible. But I'm happy to report that every district hospital now has a psychiatric unit. So if people who needed help knew, they don't have to go to a psychiatric hospital anymore. They can now go to whatever district hospital is closest to them and access care for this problem. But not enough people know. So they still make the long journey when they can to come to the psychiatric hospitals. So stigma is a big part of it, but it's very complicated.
True. Now, most of the things you have said has been based on people not knowing, which we can narrow down to education. So in terms of that, what are the institutions doing about it with regards to educating the public on depression and seeking help?
Well, we do our best to always try and make time to educate in whatever channels we get. So we speak a lot at churches. We speak on radio programs like this when we are fortunate enough to be invited. We speak on TV when we're invited to educate people on the topic. We do our best to get the message out there. Unfortunately, as you might well know, mental health has not been historically very well funded. So we can't really afford to be paying for airtime to get the message across. But we always make ourselves available and take advantage of the opportunity to let people know that depression is a serious illness and that it is treatable.
All right, doctor. Now, if I am depressed, or I know someone who is depressed, and I bring that person to the hospital or to your facility, what are some of the procedures that we'll go through?
Well, first of all, you will talk to a physician who who take your full history and find out if it is depression, first of all, and then secondly, the severity of the depression. We have different treatments for different severities of depression. So for some people, they are depressed, but they don't require medication per se. They require psychological or social interventions, and that will be sufficient to get them to feel better. But for some people who are very depressed, they need medication before they can get well enough to even tackle the problems in their life. So basically, these are the two main things that we do. We do psychological and social interventions, and then we also give medication, which is very, very effective in treating depression.
All right, doctor, thank you so much for talking to us. But before you leave, briefly, could you advise the public?
The signs of depression are very simple. The person is feeling sad all the time. They're feeling tired more often than usual. They are losing enjoyment in things that they used to enjoy. They lose appetite. They can't sleep well. They can't concentrate well. They become slow. They have feelings of guilt. They feel worthless. They are thinking about death. Even dreaming about dead people or funerals can be a sign of depression if it's very, very frequent. If you identify any of these symptoms in yourself or in somebody else, please don't hesitate to seek treatment. Like I'm saying, you can go to whatever district hospital is closest to you and then talk to somebody. We are trying to get to such that even the medical officer in the consulting room should be able to pick up depression when you start telling him these symptoms and starts to manage you. So even if you're afraid of coming to the psychiatric clinic, you just at least go to a hospital, report that you're having these symptoms, and then let us help you. Because this disease is real and its consequences can be very, very grave.
All right, thank you so much, doctor, for talking to us. We do hope that you have a good day, sir.
Good.
Now, we have spoken to Dr. Kojo Obeng, Director for Ankafo Hospital, and also Dr. Emmanuel Sampo, a clinical psychologist and a lecturer at the School of Public Health, University of Ghana, Legon. They have said a lot with regards to depression and even to some extent mental illness. And we do hope that you picked one or two things. What I picked is that talk to someone when you're feeling sad all the time or you're feeling depressed. And also go to the hospital if you do not trust anybody. And medical personnel are being trained to be able to detect depression. And so you will be covered if you go to the hospital. This has been the social segment on the morning update on TVXYZ, proudly brought to you by Health Alert Clinic. You can call them on 0242 518893 or 0242 518865. Let's Go Herbal, coming from Health Alert Clinic. It's also brought to you by X Natural Mineral Water, simply natural.
Kofi na sɛn haba matumi sayade bia ɛna nka metina homa me yade yakumie.
Oh, na den Health Alert Clinic die yɛde haba ma ɛne organic product nko a ɛna sayade.
Be ma ne oba a wo ho ayamodene monko Health Alert Clinic.
Health Alert Clinic die sɛ yɛ be ma wintimi mu adwuma yi. Menstrual disorder, hypertension, na sɛ enam yade STDs. Wo dwunsom yade bia yɛ betene te ɛde ama wo. Wo sanso yɛ massaging ɛne physiotherapy. Ɔmo wɔ diagnostic machines ɛde hwehwɛ ne pediem. Sanso na ultrasound.
Health Alert Organic Shop nso wɔ hɔnom a organic product nko a ɛna wɔn tɔn hɔnom. Hwehwɛ yɛ kyerɛ kwan ɛwɔ Madina Post Office. Yɛwɔ First Atlantic Bank no akyi hɔnom a ɛwɔ Nkran.
Frɛ yɛn ɛwɔ 0242 518893 ana 0242 518865. Health Alert Clinic. Go Herbal.
Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For Akwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With the low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. Needs Microfinance. Growing with you.
He's Amadou Sorogo. He's a former MP for Medina. Today is my guest. We're also supposed to be joined by Theodos Sulo. He's a communication team member of the NPP. He just called us that he has a little challenge, but he's trying to see if he can still make it. But if he cannot, we'll try to raise him on the line. But in the studio with me is Mr. Sorogo. Alaji, welcome.
Thank you, my brother.
Oh, okay. I've been the host, and does it mean that you have not been following the conversations on TV XYZ, Ways or TV, and so on? Oh, okay. So around this time, you hardly monitor what is going on. Exactly. Okay, then I can also use this platform to let those who have been following us know that whatever we do is on Facebook and YouTube, either Ways or TV XYZ. And so at any time of the day, assuming you were watching us and you left home, and because you have to be very careful on the road, you may not be able to monitor what you missed while you were leaving home to your office. You can always go back, look for the links, and follow the conversation and join what we missed. And you can leave your comments. We'll always go back and read them and share them with the public. This is the newspaper review segment, and it's brought to you or sponsored by Health Alert Clinic. Amadou Sorogo is the former MP for Medina. He's with us. Theodos Sulo, who is a communication team member of the MPP, cannot join us in the studio because he has had a little challenge that is taking him away. We'll try to raise him on the line, and then we'll also speak to some other people on the line to enrich the conversation. A lot of things have been going on around the country. Even before we look at what has been published in the newspapers, we just heard about the outbreak of Ebola in Guinea, and the Ghana Health Service has issued an alert. It's good that they have been very responsive towards this, because they shouldn't wait till it gets to Cote d'Ivoire or Liberia or maybe Togo or Burkina Faso and neighboring countries before we tighten our belt. Now, with Ebola around the corner, with COVID that is already strangulating the economy, what would you say we should be doing? Because at this stage, it's only advice.
Well, first and foremost, let me once again assure you that I will always go back and review, listen, watch, and pick pieces of advice from what you've been doing. I have been following you for a very long time, you know, right away from Radio Gold, you know, then through to where we were at Adringano. We were always together till we came here. And so I know the work that you do, not
for any party, but for Ghana as a whole. And let me applaud you for that. Your station, the management, and all those who thought that it was necessary to bring such a station. Maybe you don't know, but normally Ghana now, if people want to hear the truth, they say, let me go to Power FM. That is where I can always hear the truth. And so that one alone is something that we should not joke with. Number two, yes, we are in a very challenging moments. We are not in normal times, as people say. We know the pandemic that is raging the country, the whole world as a whole. We also know very well efforts that various countries are doing to contain the disease. Our levels of preparedness definitely have not been the same, but in our own small way, we are doing our best. We also know very well that when the pandemic first reared its ugly head in Ghana, the efforts that Ghanaians put in, you know very well that the former head of the president of the Republic of Ghana, JM, put at the disposal of this government experts, those who manage the Ebola disease, the outbreak when it first started. And so, fortunately for us, this is not the first time that Ebola is being heard of. It's a disease, it's a pandemic that is very, very deadly. We know how we can manage it. And the best way is that in Ghana here, that was the time John Dramani Mahama was ECOWAS chairman. He took it upon himself, went around, and I remember very well some of the comments that were made by the opposition that if a single Ebola outbreak occurs in Ghana, John Dramani Mahama must see himself blameable. Fortunately, it didn't happen. It's now scaring because, it was only Ebola, but now we have this pandemic, COVID-19, and so if you are already weak and Ebola comes in, you are completely devastated. All we can do is that we have the experience, we've learned about the history, we know how we can prevent it. A lot of them have to do with personal hygiene. A lot of them have to do with the way we comport ourselves, following protocols. That is on the part of the citizenry. The government will have to come in and be serious, take it as a serious pandemic and not play politics with it. And I can assure you that, yes, it is good. The Ghana Health Service has already sounded the alarm, telling us that we should all know what is happening. My only concern, I won't say problem, is that it's like for a very long time, the Ghana Health Service will come out with suggestions, but the government would normally go with such suggestions. And for that matter, instead of getting the disease under control, we tend to, when we are just about to hold it, it gets slipped away just because of the actions and inactions of the government.
When you say whenever Ghana Health Service comes up with a suggestion, government does not implement it, I find it a bit weird because as far as I know, Ghana Health Service has been collaborating with government. In the management of COVID, for example, there is a platform. Government has been actively involved in dissemination of information in terms of the spread and what we need to do. So I'm a bit curious what really is influencing this suggestion.
Let me just remind you that there was a near conflict between the Ghana Medical Association and the government over the management of COVID from the initial stages. It has to do with even the opening of the schools, the opening of the voters register, the opening of the registration of the Ghana card. I call it ECOWAS card because there is nothing Ghana card about it. It's a ECOWAS card. And Ghana Health, the Ghana Medical Association warned, it is a way of opening up, people coming together, and then the disease can spread. Lo and behold, you saw what happened after those exercises. They recently held campaigns, going on.
Election.
Exactly, towards the election. They also warned. But of course, if the one who is leading doesn't hit, then those who are following also go haywire.
So now we have two critical issues.
Exactly.
We have COVID already here.
Yeah.
Ebola can spread. People are still moving across the sub-region. Even though our borders are closed, every day or every week, we hear that people have been accosted and deported and so on. How should the managers of this country be seen to be working towards preventing Ebola from even getting closer to our borders?
Yeah, you see, truthfulness is the cardinal point. For example, it is said, I'm saying it is said because practically I hear people crossing the border, going in and coming. But practically, the government is saying that the borders have been closed. Land borders, the airports are opened. And so, if you want to go by that, it means that we can hold, we can control, especially those that have been imported in. And then we can manage what we already have, we can contain. But you also hear that for some time now, a lot of the new cases, they keep on saying that are cases that are being brought in the airports. You remember very well, the government decided to charge $150. Where other countries, some of them were charging as low as $10, the maximum being $30, $40, some free, so that you can present yourself. You don't find a way. Now, somebody is in Europe or outside Ghana, is very poor, he doesn't have money, and to be able to come, maybe people contribute, put the person on a flight. The person arrives in Ghana, you want the person to pay $150. There are so many short changes. I can't.
So the possibility of people using the back door
to
sneak in
will
be high because of the charges.
That is one. Number two, the possibility of people. Didn't you hear that you can go and even buy the certificate? I mean, it was just rumors. And so, you see, Ghana, when you hear rumor, as somebody said, when there is smoke, okay, try be looking for fire, because the smoke will not just come if there's no fire somewhere. And people were talking about it. Oh, I want to go, I want to travel. If I go here, pay this amount and I'll issue you the certificate.
But that has to do with COVID. There may be an attempt to manage it. Government thinks it's on top of the issues. Critics think there's still more room for improvement. But there's another leg in managing all this crisis.
Yeah.
We have the health aspect and then the economic aspect.
Yeah.
The borders have been closed. They were closed long before the elections. They remain closed. And with COVID on the rise and Ebola just around the back door, the next door, it means that these borders are not likely to be open now. But there are lives there. People live around Elubo. They depend on the economy around Elubo. People live along the stretch towards the upper east region, and then on the eastern side towards Togo, to the top.
Yeah.
Now, if these people may have to live with the current situation as a result of measures to prevent these deadly diseases from spreading fast or entering the country, should government be seen to be going beyond just fighting COVID to putting in strict measures to improve the lives of the people whose source of livelihood has been lost?
Yeah, what is the essence of being in government? Government is to make sure that your citizenry, satisfy them. If you look at, let me just use Biden as an example, the president of the United States. He said, look, right from the word go, people are devastated. I want 1.9 trillion, nothing short, nothing less. Okay? And he's putting in every effort to make sure that that is done. Everybody, every American gets a check of a certain amount. Certain mitigations are put in place. Ghana, what is happening? Even right from the word go, I am not here to talk political. I'm just pointing out what happened. Okay? Ghana, we were lucky. We had a lot of help, towards fighting COVID-19. We had 1 billion, we had 100 million. John Dramani Mama left some money in the stabilization fund. Government went in, took the money, and a whole lot. And even there was local fund.
The fund, the COVID-19 fund that was set up.
Exactly. Up till now, if they ask you accountability, how it was spent, do you know anything about it? You can tell. Up to today, even Parliament tried to find out. Nobody knows. And so if this thing is happening, tomorrow can you come and tell any other person to help? And what is government doing about that? Look at what happened about that they were going to feed people at the end of the day 56 million, 53 million Ghana cedis, and you ask, where did it go? And nobody can account for it. And so you see, when these things start coming, then you ask the government, then what is the essence of even voting? You see, what's the problem that I foresee, and which going round, my brother, you hear people talking, is that we are beginning to lose faith in our democratic processes. And that is very dangerous. I have noticed it going around, maybe because we've been member of parliament for a very long time, maybe because people see us through our exposure, like we are talking. People think that, oh, we know a lot. They express their problems. They express their feelings. And it's like we don't trust the system. And when the people begin to think that way, then we are into problem. Now, it's a simple thing. Look at truck drivers. They are saying that, look, government, you will say we should not take our full capacity. Okay. Land car owners are still demanding the same sales. Now, if we reduce the number, it will affect us. So, as a way, can you come in and mitigate? Don't just come and give us money. Fuel money. Just 3 days ago, fuel was increased again. 3 days ago.
You know that government has no direct influence in determining the fuel prices because of the deregulation policy.
No, I know that the deregulation was done, and when I was a chairman for Mines and Energy, I know very well.
Yeah, so you know much about this.
Very well.
Government has some difficulty in determining what that industry should operate in terms of prices.
So who called the piper? Have you forgotten that this is the government and Akufo-Addo who said that petrol prices were too much, and that when they come, they would decrease it? Okay, there are other ways. Me, when he said he can do it, I warned. But of course, I had to keep quiet because there are taxes. The component of taxes are there. So maybe he was thinking that, look, there are about 17 different taxes built into the cost of petrol. Maybe the government intends taking some of those taxes away and reducing the prices. Of course, that was even at a time when we did not have the 10 field, where we are now producing almost 200,000 barrels a day. During our time, the highest was 107, okay? 107, 90, 95, 100, that was where we were. But with good, you remember very well, we had to go to the court.
You know, government, you can't eat your cake and have it. If government should decide that we are going to take away some of the tax components in the petroleum price build-up, the majority of those who will benefit are you and I who have our private vehicles. Commercial vehicles are in the minimum, and ordinary Ghanaians who bought vehicles are in the minimum. The reference is to commercial buses and how they can reduce the numbers to help fight the spread of COVID, isn't it?
It is.
So if that is the reason, many may see it as a political twist to finding solutions rather than realistic approach.
No, but what do you want to do? Because when, first and foremost, what are the components that go into a commercial vehicle? The vehicle itself, okay? Spare parts. And you recall it very well.
And okay, I know for a fact that just 2 days ago, they said spare parts have gone up, DVLA charges have gone up.
Exactly.
Lubricants have gone up.
Everything that has to do with commercial transport is going up, including insurance. Everything is gone up. And you want the person, look, just yesterday, GPRTU, they have already, I think, announced that they want to increase fares by 10%. Okay, they're increasing fares by 10%. They've announced it, that they are going to increase fares by 10%. It goes against who? The ordinary citizen who goes to take the throttle. Okay, so if they are increasing fares, you're increasing petrol, and they told government that, look, if you want us to do 1, 2, 3, also do your part, and then we will move. In any case, how many Ghanaians, they talk about 30 million, let's say we are 30 million Ghanaians. What has the government put in place? And look, this is what I want to do, a policy to help Ghana out of this.
I know government is cushioning us by way of free electricity, free water, for example. Government cannot do all.
Do you know what is happening now? Free electricity. You are still talking about free electricity, free water?
But that is the policy we know is supposed to be implemented and is being implemented.
No. It was implemented, not now.
It has been extended. It has been extended.
Well, as far as I'm aware, I don't know. It's been extended
for another 3 months.
Well, then I'm sorry, I don't know about that. But what I know is that people are complaining bitterly. No water. I think yesterday, your sister station, I mean, they did a very elaborate work by going around for 3 weeks, 1 month, no water. And Ghana Water Company is saying the government has not paid. And so we cannot even get what we need to be able to purify the water and supply. Our equipment, we can service them. So which is which? You say free and the water is not flowing, I should go and look for dirty water, which is a easier source of another pandemic, cholera, fever, and what have you, as against what is happening.
Okay, Mr. Sorogo, I understand you. I think he's very passionate about this because the impact of COVID and obviously the expected impact of Ebola, no matter which way it goes, even if it is not in the country, the level of heightened restrictions will affect one person or the other. Ghana has been part of cross-border trade within the sub-region. And obviously, if there is COVID, it is going to restrict some business in some parts of West Africa, which will have its extended impact on the country, revenues here and there. Now, let's move on to the papers. Chronicle, for example, the big story says, Jean Mensah escapes Chachu's legal trap as the law fails to convince law lords in subpoena battle. The Ghanaian Times on its front page says, Jean Mensah as adverse witness. Supreme Court dismisses motion. Then we have another story which says, pastor remanded over police enlistment scam. Daily Dispatch on its front page, Supreme Court throws out Mohammed's request, but he files 2 new applications. And then we have the Daily Graphic, which equally has another interesting story on the vetting. Roads dualization in the offing, Minister Designate assures. And you can't reopen case, Supreme Court tells Mahama. I want us to start with the vetting because we'll be speaking to a lawyer on the Supreme Court issues as well. And because of the time we want to talk to him, I want us to defer that to the conversation when we get him, and then you can make your submission.
No problem.
Now let's look at the vetting. Yesterday, the Minister for Roads and Highways was there. The Interior Minister Designate was also there. The Roads and Highways plays a very important role in the development of our economy. The Year of Roads came up. Issues about payment of contractors, issues about dualization of roads, abandoned projects, and so on. The minister made a lot of interesting submissions. Before you make any comment, let's listen to Kwesi Amoakwata briefly, and then I'll come back to you.
One of your answers, you were very definite and certain, and these were your words. Dualization of major roads. Then you reference the fact that the president have declared 2020 year of roads, 2021 year of roads. It's one thing declaring, and another thing having the financial muscle and strength to be able to deliver. Which category of roads are you contemplating that between 2021 and 2022, if approved, maybe dualized? I just want certainty. Maybe Accra, Winneba, Cape Coast, Accra, Kumasi, or Kintampo, Tamale, with certainty. With major dualized roads are you looking at? Because it will also help in addressing the consequences arising out of accidents with face-on clashes on the roads. So can you speak to that, Minister Designate?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as I indicated, dualization of major roads is on the top agenda of His Excellency the President and government, and is even late, but better late than never. Yes, it's going to be a major challenge, but wherever there is the will, there is always the way. We are currently working on Accra Kumasi dualization, and in course of this year is going to be intensified, and by the close of the year, hopefully Ghanaians will see major work on that stretch. I indicated that President has already had a sub for the beginning of the first 17 kilometers on the Afrao Road beyond the Central University, and it's being undertaken by a company called BHM, and they are there and they have started their work. Temamoto Way Akosombo Inza is also there, and they are working on the dualization. For Abidjan Lagos Road, that is being undertaken under the auspices of ECOWAS called ACOMA, and we are working on it, and it's a long route, and the longest stretch lies within the Guinean corridor from Elubo to Afrao, and it's being dualized into a 6-lane route, and covering a distance.
Minister, you are convinced that you can generate the financial resources to undertake these projects in the year of roads?
I said there is determination on the part of President and the government, and we are not saying...
Is that determination backed by the availability of money?
Mr. Chairman, I made a statement that where there is a determination, where there is a will.
And so those were excerpts of the proceedings before the Appointments Committee yesterday. So Kwesi Amoah-Quanta is the Minister for Roads and Highways designate. Now, you monitored the process. How do you react to the response that government has plans, the ECOWAS stretch from Abidjan through to Lagos is in the pipeline, and he says if there is the will, obviously that will be done?
Well, let me before I go to Kwesi Amoah-Quanta, I think the vetting started some time back. Quite a number of nominees have been vetted. Some of them definitely were able to express themselves genuinely. Some of them were arrogant. I want to put it very, very, very clear. Some of them were arrogant. Some of them thought they know so much, and yet they ended up confusing themselves and confusing the committee members. I don't want to mention specific names, but I can't talk without mentioning Osla Owusu. For her to say that she didn't even know how much taxes, the percentage that the mobile transaction was given. He said 10%. Then she raised her hand. Is it 10%? I don't even know. And somebody has to say 1%. Oh, okay, they say 1%. I mean, a minister responsible for such a program. Meanwhile, he was able to say that the amount generated was this much, and government. So when he was quickly told that it's 1%, then she reduced it and said, so government is making 12.5 million cedis. Oh, brother. There were so many questions that were asked which did not receive. It's unlike when you first come in as a new person. A lot of, because it is assumed that, look, you are now coming to be given the opportunity to prove whatever that you can do. But when you are being maintained in the same ministry, having been there for 4 years, it is expected that you are on top of your job. And that is why the president decides to nominate you that, look, continue with your good work. So there are two things. Either continue with your good works because Ghanaians appreciate, or continue the work I gave you because even though Ghanaians don't appreciate, I, MPP, we appreciate. And I think that some of them were in that line. Coming to Kwesi Amoah-Quanta, I mean, I'm not surprised. The only surprise that I have is that when I just rewind my memory back, these are people who spoke vehemently against construction of roads, that roads, Sika, roads, Nam, roads, Yedi. When we are talking, John Dramani says that he is constructing roads. Do we eat roads?
But didn't they say that in context?
In context of?
In context of the fact that you talk about roads and they want to suggest that it is not the only thing Ghana needs. That's how some may understand it.
Well, no, but that was not, well, it was not only road that we were constructing. We were constructing hospitals, schools, water, making water, potable water available, the water that they say they are coming to give free, energy, you remember very well. And I know that we are going to pay a lot of judgment debts. I know, because I was the chairman for Mines and Energy, and the way the MPP came and abruptly terminating contract left and right because they had promised that when they come, they were going to review this, they were going to do that, and to match it by their own ways. If you recollect, Ofereta in the first budget presentation came up scrambling that he didn't understand why NDC were producing 5,000 megawatts.
Yesterday, I monitored Boache Jakon on one of the radio stations. I think it was Oman FM. And then he was speaking to the judgment debt we have just been slapped with. And he categorically said that he made an effort to speak to issues about contracts we had signed under pay or take contracts, which were not necessary because for him, we had more energy in surplus. And so some of those decisions have affected us today. So if it comes to the concerns you are raising, this is somebody who was then in office and still shares the position against yours.
No, my brother, it is very clear. He was in office, but also there. We were all together. We came together. It was, you remember very well that this was at a time that Ghana were in crisis and we needed to solve the problem of energy. And then it is only a president who thinks forward. Okay? If we had all previous presidents were also thinking forward, that look, because Ghana's economy is growing, you need to think forward and plan ahead.
Okay, so that's good. Now let's
go. We didn't have this problem. Let's go back to
sector.
Let's go to. So I am happy that they declared a whole year as a year of roads. Fortunately, they could find a way to hide their incompetence because they said COVID-19 had come in and so they couldn't perform. I overheard him saying that 77% of the roads that they said they were going to do was graveling, that they just put gravel here and there. It's an effort, okay? But I don't think that they performed to the satisfaction of Ghanaians. When he was being interviewed, he was mentioning big. The question is, where are you going to get the money? Okay? Ghana is now under HIPIC. I think you are aware. Nobody argues that. If you look at, we are now, Bank of Ghana, how much? 286 billion debt on Ghana. And we have crossed 74.6% of the GDP. Yes, debt ratio. Okay? So we are in a the World Bank has warned us, the various institutions are warning Ghana that no, we are dangerously going into areas
So assuming that the picture is as you have reflected on what has been published, how do we address critical challenges? We have the need to dualize our major highways.
Yeah.
So we have identified Accra, Cape Coast through to Takoradi. We have identified Accra, Aflao, Accra Ho, Accra Kumasi, and other stretches that may be across the country. It is a priority issue we have to look at.
Sure.
There are other aspects of the economy government must address.
Yeah.
So if we want to look at this critical challenge and you have to offer a recommendation, what do you think we should do in terms of prioritizing some of these needs?
Well, first and foremost, let's take back the humble pie and say, look, we are sorry we did 1, 2, 3. Okay, you remember that in the manifesto of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama proposed a big push. Okay, a $10 billion which he was going to take and then put into all this. I mean, the MPP said no, it wasn't going to be possible. Whatever. Now They are thinking of the same thing. Realization of Kumasi Accra Road, realization of Cape Coast Accra Road, realization of Aflao Accra Road. These are rules that we can never depend on our budgetary, whatever money that we are generating, within our country to be able to do. There's no way. Okay, you need to either, number one, think of pay, build, own, operate, and transfer. Okay, so you need to enter into serious agreements. Okay, so that you can get the companies, the construction firms to come and do it, having entered with them maybe 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Okay, but if you are thinking of just tomorrow, that I just want it tomorrow because that is where I can get my butter and whatever, it's not going to work. Number two, we all know very well that look, you can also decide to say you are making it in phases. If you recollect, the NDC said, John said he was going to use the local contractors, okay, to do a lot of the jobs that we were planning to do. Now, you have come, you say you want to do this, you now see that road is very, very important. Mind you, it's not only road. There are so many other things that is lacking. We owe the private producers of electricity so much that they are threatening now. My fear is that if we are not careful in the next 2-3 months, if government doesn't find money to settle them, they are going to withdraw. If they withdraw, the very energy that they say we have overproduced will go back to doing so. We are praying that shouldn't happen. But from what we are hearing, it's not good. Because the people also need their money to be able.
So should we see many of these issues obviously will go through Parliament?
Yes.
Must we see, especially because of your political background, I'm putting this question to you, an NDC minority group in Parliament who should be making a lot of compromises with government in the interest of nation building, so that when government goes to Parliament with loans, bills, and so on, where we need funds to manage some of these critical aspects of our economy, it should not have a difficulty passing through.
You see, there's one thing that maybe you forget to mention, and that has to do with the generality of Ghanaians. Ghana is not MPP, okay, and Ghana is not Akufo-Addo. So
and Ghana is not NDC.
No, exactly. Ghana is not NDC. Ghana is not John Dramani Mahama. Okay, and that is why the MPs are there to represent and bring the best for the country. If you come with your loan proposals and what have you, the MP will have to think forward. If I take this loan today, tomorrow, MPP may be there for only 4 years, 3 years, whatever it is. Another government will come. How is it going to affect our generation? Today we are here talking. Okay, me and you, maybe in the next 30, 40 years we are gone. Our children, how are they going to pay? And so we have to think about all these things. Do we have the capacity to be able to pay back? So it is not just like, especially when you are saying that, taking loan should not be the option. Okay, now it has come out clear that you were mistaken when you said that. You've gone beyond, you've gone to take so much loan. That's number one. The second one, which is more important, is your credibility. Do you think that now, where we are now, where all countries, the IMF, the World Bank, all of them are ruining us, we can have that freedom that you go in, you want 2, 3, 4, 5 billion, and they'll give you. Already, the resources that we have, which we can use to mortgage, we've already done all of them, including debt fund. So many things. If the MPs, the NDC, the MPs have not been very, very, very tough, Japan would have gone through. Okay? Our mineral resources, our gold, our oil, all been for 10 years, 15 years. So what are you now going to use as collateral to be able to take a big
loan? Is it about time Ghanaians acknowledge that, look, we are in this together? It cannot be we are looking up to government to find solutions to all our problems. Nana Akufo-Addo has demonstrated some commitment by drastically cutting down the size of his government. And we anticipate that this may even see more numbers with reference to those who will be appointing to his office directly and other areas. Is it not enough to suggest to Ghanaians that, look, we acknowledge the challenges and this is the step we are taking, and therefore the demands you are putting across must also be measured?
Well, let me first and foremost thank the Ghanaian populace because they forced Nana to do what he has done. It is not out of his own will. And ask me why. If the MPP had taken a big command in parliamentary seats, I can assure you this wouldn't have happened. Strict. Now it is 137 from what we have now. Is that not?
Yes.
Okay. So it will be difficult if Nana were having the 169. In fact, they intended to get up to 180. That was their plan. If they had gotten 180, Nana could have appointed more than 120 ministers. But now it's not going to be easy. You won't get your way through. And so the population.
Like that, when you speak like that, it suggests that you are not seeing anything beautiful, which is worthy of praise.
I was coming to say that, and I also praise him for at least listening. He could have still said, look, I don't care, I'll still go ahead and do whatever I want to do. He was forced to listen, and he listened. And so he has reduced the number. Mind you, before then, the NDC MPs and the government and the party were all saying that, look, any number that is above a certain threshold would never be countenanced. And I don't think he will also be happy to send people only for them to reject it. He listened to it and he says, okay, now let me go this way. That is just one way. There's other areas, the corruption. He must check, because you see, if somebody does something and you just say go home, like the PPA, the public procurement, the chief executive, who was having 45,000 euro in his account, by the time he was leaving, he was having.
Yes, so
the corruption and what have you.
We've crossed that bridge. Maybe it reflected in the election. That is why some of the ministers who were members of parliament lost their seats. But while we are looking at this, people are appearing before parliament.
Yeah.
They are going through vetting processes. Yeah. And I believe that parliament would have to scrutinize their past and look at the prospects we have from the office they are going to hold and the direction they want to give. But I have somebody on the line to join this conversation. He's a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Mr. Asante. We are happy to talk to you this morning on TVXYZ.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, Mr. Jonathan Otri. First of all, the conversation at this stage is about the appointments committee and those who are appearing before it. I'm sure you have followed the conversations so far. Which of the...
Your voice is a little farther away.
Can you hear me better now, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm sorry I didn't raise my voice at the beginning. We are talking about the vetting of nominees and your opening remark of those who have appeared so far and some of the responses.
Well, let me say good morning to, I don't know if it's TV or radio. I think it's TV, right?
Yes, this TV XYZ, Ways or TV.
All right, let me say good morning to your viewers. In simple terms, I will say that the nominees have been hedging in their answers and responses to the members of the committee. And that is not good enough for our country.
Okay, I thought you were going to follow up. So if it's not good enough for our country, I believe that you have some explanation to make specific references. Yeah. We have the education minister who is now going to the energy, to head the energy sector. We have Eslous who just left the committee. The roads minister was there yesterday. The interior minister has been there. The defense minister, the national security minister, and of course, those who have also passed through, which of them have made references, or if you can generalize what you see as half-baked responses which are not good for our country's development?
Yeah, the likes of the national security minister. So you see the defense minister, for example, minister designate, for example, the health minister are apparently not aware of the contractual arrangement at the port with respect to the COVID. I mean, that in itself is also a bizarre thing. But of course, that should tell you that the presidential influence is very high, and it appears that these so-called ministers probably were not in the know. Now, if you listen to what Madame Ursula went to do yesterday, I mean, look at the closures of radio stations and this picking and choosing. Everybody has come to a realization that the closure of Radio XYZ, for that matter, was politically motivated. That of Radio Gold was politically motivated because there are several other radio stations that find themselves in the same quagmire as they were once accused of. And she says, well, they are applying the law and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not aware syndrome. I think that we need to see the committee cracking their head. You see, they're supposed to ask specific questions and demand specific answers. If the person says he's not aware, I mean, you have every reason to disappoint the person by saying that that person is not on top of his or her brief. And so you could see the demeanor of Madame Esla Usu. I mean, her demeanor, the very person, unless maybe she went to the committee sick or not in a good mood. Because this is not the Esla that we all know. A very vociferous, outgoing, a forthright person who speaks her mind and other things. Sometimes even using abusive language and other, so on and so forth. And so, if you have that lackadaisical attitude in answering questions posed, for example, by Honorable Muntaka, and you consider the demeanor of the woman, either it is a disrespect of the committee, or she was not well, or not well composed. And besides, as I said earlier, I'm not aware. And you being the functional minister heading that particular ministry, in as much as you may not be the one, interested in the day-to-day running of the affairs of NCA for that matter, there are high-profile issues and cases, that you ought to be interested in because you need to proffer or give appropriate answers.
Okay. Now,
I mean, if you look at the Calvi GVG, I mean, they are saying that they have been able to save whatnot. It felt that the two electronic whatever contractual arrangement that had been signed earlier did not pose a unified platform. So Calvi GVG is the one that came to do that. Probably with time, they may, of course, she is at the helm of affairs. So sometimes, in Ghana, it's very difficult, as it were, unless there is a whistleblower somewhere else. It's very difficult to get documents that will prove somebody, as throwing dust into our eyes.
Yeah. Jonathan Otri, I have 3 follow-up questions, and I want to break them down this way. First of all, you are a lecturer, and by virtue of what you do, you have had the opportunity to interview people. There's a school of thought that the approach adopted by the appointment committee is inappropriate, where you are limited to 1 or 2 questions and virtually no space for follow-ups. And people have a certain time frame within which they must pass through the process. A reference was made yesterday to the U.S. Condoleezza Rice issue, where she took 3 days to go through her approval process. Now, should we see the appointment committee of parliament telling Ghanaians whether they really were satisfied with follow-up they did on the I am not aware syndrome and the half-baked responses, and for which reason they are going ahead to approve, or they should be seen to be shelving it and doing their so-called caucus meetings and then leave us like that? Because one leg is the expectation about how they will take the ministers or the nominees through the process. The other leg is what really will inform their decisions at the committee level, which will give us satisfaction that they are working and not being compromised, or Ghanaians are not being shortchanged.
Well, Parliament always, they say they have their own rules and regulations. They are the masters of their own rules and regulations. This thing that you asked, where people have limited questions to ask, of course, they cannot have limitless questions to ask. But ideally, we need to, where are we in a hurry to? You see, the committee members must be allowed. I foresee that the ranking members on the committee, have opportunity to ask as many questions as possible. And I see that in Muntaka every now and then. And so, for example, one of the minister nominees, when Sumini was asking a follow-up question, as he rightly said, the chairman, truncated that particular opportunity given to the honorable member of the committee, and that in itself, sometimes it is more to be deserved. It does not in any way allow we Ghanaians or ordinary citizens to be able to thoroughly assess, the kinds of questions that are asked and whether the questions are thorough themselves or they are probing enough. But I have seen that probing questions, these minister nominees, they just dodge probing questions. Either they will say they are not aware, or there is a committee that is investigating, and that they give assurances that something of that sort. The investigation is ongoing. That at the death of those who passed on at Techiman and other things, they're investigating how many months on, and since we've not seen anything. Sometimes when some of these things happen, we ought to have seen a letter to that effect that there is a committee, this is the composition of the committee. But if they come and sit at the committee and give us verbal answers without backing them with some kind of documentation, it leaves more to be desired. If you look at Governor Odami, his disposition, his demeanor, he exudes that kind of high confidence. It's like a kind of reward that has been given him for being the hatchet man of government as far as legal issues are concerned. And so that particular post that has been given him is more or less like a reward. But if you consider what has happened and his answer with respect to Sal, it's as if he's the one controlling Yisi. And for which reason, Yisi will be compelled, as it were, through him to ensure that Sal, whatever this thing that is created. And then to the effect that for him, Sal belonged to Bloom, and that is where they should go and vote. I mean, if you speak like that, are you the one in charge of the Electoral Commission? How do you determine that? Is it just by legal, gymnastics or some kind of documentation evidence? I was expecting that Don Butcher would be put to strict proof as to during the division, the regional division. Yes, I mean he is the creator of that particular problem. You see, he is the creator of that particular problem. If he had solved that particular problem with the LI that they introduced, I think that the Electoral Commission would not have had that opportunity to say that go and vote in the presidential, but at the moment we do not know where you belong as far as parliamentary is concerned.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, Jonathan, before you go, there are other issues I want you to address. First of all these things have happened and we have been monitoring the processes. Now, going forward, what should the committee be seen to be doing? Because there's a school of thought that there are some of them there who are only waiting to settle personal scores or to try to use the platform to vindicate themselves. So some of the questions go to address political issues, and their responses are supposed to vindicate them and the persons they are operating for. And that is not appropriate. That is why some of the nominees go there with a certain mindset and respond the way they have done so far.
Well, I'm not too sure as to how they'll be able to reconfigure the style of questioning, to reconfigure the way they conduct business at the committee level. I think probably, maybe going forward, they should be able to give these questions, some of the probing questions, to the nominees for them to prepare and give appropriate answers. You see, some of them, if they are not careful, they will entangle themselves with legal ramifications in terms of their answers. And so that is the cause of the hedging. Now, with political scores, certain political scores, no two ways about that. There are so many things that people say freely on air and on TV. And when they are put to strict proof, all what they will do is just to apologize. You see, so I am looking forward to the vetting of how it comes in. That is the only person that I'm really much interested in. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Jonathan is on the line. Jonathan, can you hear me better now? Okay, unfortunately, we've lost Jonathan Otri. He's a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. We are speaking to Amadou Sologo in the studio. He's the former MP for Medina. Theodos Sulo was also supposed to join us. He's the MPP communication member, and unfortunately, has some challenges. We'll be raising him on the line. Now, when we were having this conversation, we got him to join the line, and obviously, he sounds very passionate about things and how the committee must be seen finishing their processes. Yesterday, Mr. Kujeto Ablakwa said they have so far not voted on any of the nominees who have gone through the process. You have been a member of parliament for several years. I don't know whether you have served on appointment committee before.
No, I haven't.
You haven't. But what normally happens if you go through the vetting process? I'm told Jonathan Otri is on the line. Jonathan, good morning again.
Good morning.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to land with you on the proceedings at the Supreme Court. I'm sure yesterday you followed what happened. But for the benefit of doubt and for the suspicion that you may have been in the lecture hall, I want us to listen to the lawyers for the two major political parties briefly so that you can hear a summary of what they said, and then I can ask you one question and then take leave of you. So let's listen to the former Deputy Attorney General Dominic Ayeni as he addressed the media yesterday.
Asked itself a question which we deem was a wrong question and answered that question. It said, why does the chairperson need to account to the people of Ghana when she's not a party to the suit? Now, you will recall that counsel made it very clear that one of the reasons why we are in court is because of the unconstitutional conduct of Mrs. Jane Aduke Mensah as the returning officer under the Constitution. And it is not true that there is only one issue that needs to be determined in this matter. I am surprised that the Supreme Court itself, having set down 5 key issues to be determined, is now reducing the issues to one, which is whether and the extent to which the evidence that we have led shows that no one got more than 50% of the votes in accordance with Article 63 of the Constitution. But we had made abundantly clear in the petition that there were a number of infractions. We are contesting even the constitutionality of the declaration that was made. We are saying that she violated Article 23 of the Constitution because she's an administrative, body. We have also said her exercise of discretion was contrary to Article 296 of the Constitution.
Agenda. The Supreme Court has not reduced the petition to a single issue. We tried our best to transcribe the ruling. We are waiting for
Yeah, we are listening to Kojo Ponkroma, so I want us to go back to Kojo Ponkroma and hear a bit of what he also said in response to some critical issues that Dominic Ayeni raised. And Jonathan Otri, I hope you're on the line still.
Yes, there is.
Yes, I want you to listen to Kojo Ponkroma briefly, then I can take your submission quickly before you enter your lecture hall.
Okay.
Has not reduced the petition to a single issue. We tried our best to transcribe the ruling. We are waiting for the written version of it. The court said that the major issue, it didn't say there was a single issue before it. It said the major issue. And time again, colleagues, we have read out to you the 5 issues that the court is seeking to determine. And the court says that the major one, and I believe in the minds of every well-meaning Ghanaian who has been, and I indeed read it from your questions, the major issue, you forget what they said earlier that they had won. The major issue they brought to court was that nobody had crossed the 50% threshold. And everybody's been looking forward to them adducing evidence to prove this. They have been trying in the last 1.5 weeks to shift it to a new constitutional accountability argument. And the court reminded us the last time that you came here under Article 64(1). The court today has said that the major issue, why do you then decide to mislead the public that the court has reduced the petition to a single issue petition? I think it is very unfortunate, and we must start off by correcting some of these issues.
So we've heard Dr. Ayine and we've listened to Kojo Nkrumah. Now, Jonathan, I don't have much time. So briefly, you've monitored the processes, you've heard the lawyers. Brief comment so that you can go back to your lecture hall.
Well, Eric, when it comes to the Supreme Court, we all have to be a little careful. Other than that, you may pass a certain comment that somebody will say that it's prejudicial. But I think that the banter between the two, the respondent, the lawyers, and then the petitioner lawyers, I think it's been back and forth kind of thing. I will surmise to say that, look, the first respondent, that particular decision of preventing their star witness in mounting the dock was legally, it was quite strategic as they did. But you see, the political consequences will be so huge for the second respondent and the party that they will have wished they will have allowed the woman to mount the dock. Do you get the point? So, you see, you may win the legal battle, but the political consequences thereof will indicate, because at the moment, the idea of preventing the woman from mounting the dock has created a perception in the minds of Ghanaians that indeed there is a possibility that the verdict that was given, the declaration that was given in favor of the second respondent was something that was machinated behind the scenes, and that the man did not really win the election. That particular thing you cannot take away from the minds of Ghanaians. If they had allowed the woman, of course the Supreme Court could easily have allowed the woman to go into the dock anyway, but of course the legal gymnastics and legal articles here and there, say that, well, you cannot compel the person to. So we've seen and heard that Mr. Mahama has put in 2 more applications, and let's see how that one goes. But I think that it's just strange that on the part of the second respondent and their lawyers, every now and then, whatever the Supreme Court does, they agree. Whatever the Supreme Court does, they agree. And that they seem to be on a tangent of winning their case, because I've never seen any application that has gone the way of the petitioner. And that's the more reason why Dr. Ayine more or less suggests that it's as if the case has already been predetermined. So we'll just see how we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so Jonathan Otri, senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, thanks for your time, and he has also filled a huge gap that we wanted to be part of this conversation. Now, Mr. Amadou Serogo, I call you Alaji because you have been to Mecca before.
Yes, several times.
Supreme Court, we are always measured about our conversations. I see some. Is that one of the reviews that you have printed?
No.
Okay, then I was trying to
steal.
I was trying to enter your document. Now, I think Jonathan raised a number of issues. We are about to wrap up this conversation. The Supreme Court, any comment so far?
You see, first and foremost, I think normally when you are a Ghanaian and you say, I want to go to court, it's because certain things happened and there was no understanding, okay? And I would think that the court will be there to make sure that justice is attained, okay? And so we go to court. So the main reason what the court should be looking at is the truth, what you have brought. Is it true or not true? As to how you came through to the court, okay? You should have passed through the back door, you should have passed through the left, and then you are coming. This is what the law says. The substance of the matter is that it is not just John Dramani Mahama versus Nana Akufo-Addo. This is Ghanaians. 6.7 million Ghanaians, as they are saying, versus 6.2 million Ghanaians.
That is those who vote.
Exactly. And everyone is following, the candidate. And they are saying that, look, there is confusion. We don't understand what is happening. Because normally, This is not the first time
so in your opinion, the Supreme Court should be seen to be addressing the substance, which is whether the election reflects the results,
exactly,
and not about legalities whether, because that doesn't solve the problem.
They can talk about the legalities, but as well go, because the Supreme Court is not bound by any precedent. Okay, like when we refer to the High Court, the High Court, whatever the Supreme Court does, is bound. The High Court is bound to follow it. The lower courts. But the Supreme Court, because it is the Supreme, you don't. You can just say, okay, they did this, but we are not bound by it.
Now, what are you anticipating? Because there are several cases at the High Court level with regards to the parliamentary elections. Now, the decisions being taken by the Supreme Court today, as you said, is bound to affect about 16 or so cases that the two major parties are contesting. What do you anticipate?
Well, all what I can say is that, just like the lecturer said, okay, there are two wars here, wars in inverted commas, being fought, okay, the political and then versus the legal, okay. If you listen from all the, we've been reading a lot of stories, and people are completely saying that they disagree with the rulings that have been given by the Supreme Court, led by Justice Enini. You see, the laws are clear. After a ruling is given, you can comment, you can criticize it. So long as the ruling has already been given, I'm entitled to comment and say I disagree, I think that it is wrong. But the law says that don't say something that will be prejudicial, that will influence somebody's mind, that will bring certain confusion. But all those judgments that have already been given, people can comment on them. And now, if you read the commentaries, you go to social media, various legal brains, what they are saying, they don't agree at all with a lot of them.
I sense some level of disappointment and anger in your presentation.
No, the issue is that, look, I just listened to what Justice Enini when he appeared before the appointments committee for his vetting.
What did he say?
He said one thing which will always stand. He said, look, nobody can be called a president if you don't get 50 plus 1. And that from what he is reading, he doesn't think that any of the two, that was then John Dramani Mahama and then Nana Akufo-Addo, any of them had 50 plus 1.
That was then.
That was when he was just going for his confirmation. Now the same thing has come. The substance of the issue is that we are saying that Nana Akufo-Addo did not get this. Go in. This is the woman who declared, and that time there was also declared once, okay, by Charlotte. Once. This is the result. Now these results have been declared 6 times. Figures change. 1, 2, 3, 4. So which one? And we are saying that, look, taking the gazetted one, which was the first result, you do your tabulation, Nana did not get 50%. So the interest of the court, which is there to make sure that justice is attained, is
chaired by Enini Yeboah, who demonstrated
the same concern with figure, and I followed him with force, because it was only the dissenting as at that time who was saying that the whole country must go through elections again because he doesn't think someone got 50 plus 1%. It's the same problem here, and I'm surprised that the same Enini Yeboah, now being the Chief Justice, is also saying another thing. Well, the law is in their bosom, but I can assure you that if you go around the entire country, you ask, even MPP members are disappointed. They are not beginning to think that, well, we don't think that there's something. Why is it that Jen Mensah doesn't won? Because you say that I've won, like I can. You, Eric, I know you. Eric, you are wearing black attire today. When I go to Sid Court, I can tell them, at this time, at this place, this was the attire Eric was wearing, because the truth is one. You have declared it. They are saying that, look, your declaration, we don't get it. If you know there is nothing to hide, you come straight. Look, even I want to come. The justices must even say that, look, even though there are legalities in terms of rules and proceedings, look, we are interested in the fact. Come, go to the box. Tell Ghanaians, everybody's watching. It's being screened live. So let Ghanaians be aware so that everybody can be free.
What do you anticipate?
Why is it that you are not?
Maybe we have 2 minutes to wrap up. What do you anticipate is likely to be the thinking of Ghanaians going into future elections in view of what is happening today?
Apart from the thinking, I'll come to the thinking, but Nana Akufo-Addo will not even be a happy president. Because to me, so I think he's an illegitimate president.
He has been endorsed.
I am not saying he's not been endorsed. I'm saying that me, because I still have that lingering mind that he didn't cross the 50.1%. And I wanted Jane Mensah to come and convince me that, look, he crossed. And not me alone. Maybe including Warwick and so many other millions of Ghanaians.
Everything EC must put before court is already the public domain. It's been published.
Yeah, but that is the publication that has been taken and calculated, and it's not. So which one? Is it the corrected one? Now going back, how are you going to carry this? Look, Jane Mensah yesterday when he was going to court, I was watching eight military men, 2 policemen. Why? It's because he's a public figure. He's not a private person. That is why we use our tax to pay the military, guard her, because the function he is performing for Ghana is very important. So guard her. Come and tell Ghanaians the function that we gave you, which we pay you, which we are not guarding you, you say you won't come. It should have been in her own interest to say, look, cut matters. I want to enter the box because I want to tell Ghanaians the truth. Going future, I can assure you that, look, several Ghanaians, overwhelming majority of Ghanaians are now thinking that there is something that Jane Mensah is hiding and that the Nana Akufo-Addo did not win genuinely. And it's going to affect...
They may harbor those sentiments. But what I'm saying is that we are going into future elections.
Yes.
It can be today, it can be tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now, in view of the perception that now EC can declare its own result and nobody can force EC to come and tell maybe the court or the public the nitty-gritties of what went into the compilations, do you anticipate more violence at coalition centers?
It's not even more violence. Immediately, the populace start to lose trust in the democratic process. Any other thing can come. There can be civil disobedience, any other thing. People no longer respect the court. People no longer respect. When they lose faith in the court, the system, where I think that when I go, I'll get justice. Then when again, then let me handle it myself.
But the section of Ghanaians don't think the way some other people are complaining.
No, but there's no way you can get 100%. But I'm telling you, the majority of Ghanaians, including MPP people, including even some of the MPs, are saying that this one, because the MP too is not happy. The president, people are saying that you did not win genuinely and that you were planted. The person to come and tell Ghanaians that, look, these are results. This is he won. He says he's running away. He said he's hiding behind laws. The Supreme Court is not pushing her to come and do it. So let us all have that lingering mind that, look, we have a president who was declared by Jane Mensah and not the president that was declared by, that was voted for.
So Alhaji Amadou Sorogo is the former MP for Medina. He has been my guest in the studio this morning. We also spoke to Jonathan Ottery, who's a senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. This has been the newspaper review segment brought to you by Health Alert Clinic. We'll be taking a break. Abena will be joining us after that with what you have sent to us by way of text messages. Amadou Sorogo, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, my brother. It's wonderful. And your studio is perfect.
Perfect.
I entered here and I said yes.
Yes.
Yes, because when I went to New York, I was in some studios and they don't even match your studio here. XYZ,
thank you.
The best.
And all of a sudden, your gray hair has become black. We are taking a break now.
Okay, thank you. God bless all of us.
Welcome to Auto Check Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to so many hour crash.
Sure.
Check, auto checks, check, auto checks, check.
Emission, check.
Check, auto checks.
Alignment, check.
Brakes, check. Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much.
AutoChecks.
AutoChecks. Check.
AutoChecks. Your safety, our priority.
Check. AutoChecks.
Welcome back. It's now time for your text messages. Abna is standing by. Abna.
Yes, so you have sent in a lot of messages, and I start with Ablade. He says that Supreme Court dismisses Mahama's application to reopen case again. I now understand why the MPP folks were shouting, "Go to court," because they knew the Supreme Court now is the NPP's headquarters annex. This came from Ablade. Now, the next one also says that the unanimous SC led by Enim Yabua has done it again. Oh, I now believe they don't want the Ghanaian voter to know the truth. I share same view with Honorable Eine that their ruling is predetermined. At this juncture, I call on Chachu and his academy to throw in the towel because I don't think the court will favor them. Another one here says that the rise and fall of NDC will be history, especially where they can't monitor their own votes in a general election. Honorable Nana Addo is on course, but the COVID-19 pandemic disturbing world finances, which Ghana is no exception. Hopefully, this one too shall pass. He says, regards to Honorable Mavis Howard Kumsin, MP and Minister Designate. The last one also says, Holy Spirit puts the right people in place to help you at the right time.
Well, I also have a few of the text messages. This one says, it's from David. It says, Dear Mr. Hianyo, NDC is greatly becoming a defenseless party. Our leaders completely do not understand politics. Our massive supporters are losing interest in our leaders every step of the way. Our leaders seem not to care about the supporters' feelings, and the loud silence of the leaders speaks volumes. The Supreme Court judges are treating us like children without parents. Immediately after the ruling today, we should organize a press conference, followed by demonstrations. That is what David has sent. This message says, and I want to, okay. He has sent a number of messages I've not read, so I'm moving on to the last one. This one says, how many Ghana in Africa? Ghana today, we do not have one Ghana. We have two Ghanas, one MPP and one NDC. This one says, it is very true that it is only the God-fearing and wise that would go to heaven, not by the hypocrites, corrupt, dishonest, and the unwise. Asanko Santa Maria sent this text message. This one from OPK in Goa. So Mahama and the NDC legal team went to court to speak grammar, but not facts and figures. So no wonder all the applications have been dismissed. And he goes on to say greetings to the NPP. I have regional chairman, ABS NPP Bono regional communicator. I have two more. This one is from Musa Abatua. It appears the Supreme Court judges are not considering the future of our democracy, but interested in legal gymnastics and technicalities. Now, per today's rulings that he sent this this morning, but it was actually yesterday's ruling, EC can announce any figure used by as a paper as from 13 and walk away with it. The court appears to be in place where people are pushing the truth, but justice is not being seen. This one came from, it says, this one from Pama in Sunyai. It says, indeed, Ghana is now a banana state. The Nado Baumia government have manipulated every institution in the country. That's an allegation. No more rule of law. Mother serpent of corruption and the kids, Eugenia. It goes on and on and on. And it talks about greetings to the Nana H lab opposite the green light pharmacy.
I've received a plea, so okay. let me read that quickly. Now it says here that please use your program to ask the National Board for Small Scale Industries with regards to loans for poultry farmers. The number they gave us rings till our batteries run out. We had messages in last November saying disbursement is still ongoing till January 2021 and February. we've heard nothing from them.
I think it's a genuine concern.
Yes.
And I also make a passionate appeal to Parliament to investigate MBSSI to be sure that the monies they have claimed have been distributed so far actually went to the people, if this concern is anything to go by. That's how we wrap up today's program. Morning Update came to you from us here at Ababrese Street on Atosu, and of course we're also on Wizard
TV.
Okay.
Yeah, but before I go, there is some good news. If you're looking for a job, Coca-Cola is recruiting, so you can apply for that as well.
Have they paid for it?
No, but it's job.
So we'll surcharge you because that is not supposed to go for them. Otherwise, Coca-Cola should bring their.
They should bring money. Okay.
Thank you, and let's meet tomorrow morning.
Yeah.